Hi, my name is Beth, and you're listening to the CannaFitness and Nutrition Podcast, where we are hanging out at the intersection of fitness, nutrition, and cannabis. Thank you so much for pressing play. I'm super excited that you're here. Thanks for coming back. If you're a listener and if you're new, I'm Beth, your personal trainer and cannabis educator, and we're here to talk about all the things. So, I love fitness, I love being in good shape, and I love eating healthy because it makes me feel healthy. And I love cannabis. And today I'm just sort of going to talk about how I put that all together when we went away for the weekend. Because I feel like I have a pretty good system going and I want to share that. Now, this is just my personal system, but as someone who manages to go on vacation and not gain any weight, able to use cannabis, eat what I want, and not be super high all the time. I feel like I feel like I have a pretty good system. So I'm going to share that today. If I do pat myself on the back, right? But we all should. So I'm going to share a little bit about that today. I'm going to share, we went away for just the weekend. So we left on Saturday, we stayed overnight Saturday night, Sunday night, and then we came back on Monday. And I used a similar system when we went away last time, which was like 6 months ago. Same thing, we spent 2 nights away, a couple times in the spring, and then I did something similar in our trip on January, but I really feel like this latest one solidified kind of my method. So I wanted to share that. As podcast listeners, you get first dibs on all my new information and my new formulas as I try things, because that's really my goal, is to try different things, use my experience and expertise to help guide you into how you can manage vacation better, right? Because who doesn't want to go on vacation, do all the things you want to do, enjoy your food, enjoy your cannabis, but not have any of the side effects like weight gain or, being asleep half the time because you took too much cannabis or whatever, right? And figuring out how to travel with cannabis is a whole thing. So let's talk about it. Let me just give you the kind of outline here. I live in upstate New York. We went into New York City for the weekend. I had tickets to a comedy show, and we decided to make a weekend of it and spend the night, 2 nights actually, and then drive back on Monday. So really get into the details of my life here, which you may or may not care about, but we have to drop one of our dogs off at a dog trainer because he's a very bad dog, and he needs to go to a special dog trainer in order for us to go away, because we can't trust anybody else with him, or we can't trust him with anybody else. So anyway, long story short, we take the long way to New York City instead of the direct way, which would only be a couple of hours. We take the super long way and we swing through Connecticut to drop our dog Leo off at the dog trainer. So that being said, we drive to New York City. And my strategy is, again, I get into a little bit of a vacation mindset in that, not the I'm going to binge and eat all the food I can and just stuff myself for a weekend. It's not that. It used to be that. I'm not going to lie. It used to be that. It used to be, this has been years, but vacation was a time of overindulgence, not just indulgence, overindulgence, because I was so restricted the rest of the time that it was like just opening the Pandora's box and I would eat everything. Anyway, the goal is not to do that, but also to not feel like I have to just eat, protein and veggies and try to limit my sugar and all that. I don't want to be strict about it. I don't want to be no fun, right? As we say. And my philosophy, the CannaFit philosophy, is all about balance. My nutrition certification, if you haven't already heard me say this, my nutrition certification is in moderation. And I know that's odd, and it's not what you typically hear. But it's behavioral. So it's how to eat the healthy foods, but how to eat them in moderation without having to sacrifice foods you love, So anyway, back to the story. So we drive to New York City. This is Saturday morning. We leave first thing. I just had my normal breakfast. I actually got up and worked out because I was like, not gonna work out for 3 days, gonna get up and work out early. So I did. I got up, I lifted weights, and I packed my breakfast, took it in the car, and then ate my breakfast in the car. Now, important part of the story is that, again, if you listen regularly, you know I use what's called a dry herb vape to inhale cannabis. I love it because I love the fast acting part of inhalation. I don't love burning, and the smoke hurts my lungs, so I personally don't care for it. Whereas the dry herb vape, instead of burning the material, it just heats it up. So you're only getting heat vapor with the cannabis instead of actually burnt material. So it's a little nicer on the lungs. I personally love it. And mine broke. So I've been sharing with my husband, with his, because we have the same one, and he doesn't use it nearly as much as I do. So the plan was to bring it, to share it, but it doesn't hold a charge very long. Yes, I can charge it in the car, but I didn't want to ruin it for him, because I was like, he really needs it to go to sleep. And I know he kind of counts on that to go to sleep. So I don't want to hog the vape all weekend. Plus, we're walking around, we're going to a show, we're doing things. I don't want to be having to hang out outside and smoke just so I can feel good. I was like, I'm going to go edibles. Okay. And I do love edibles on vacation. And this is what I did in the spring too, is I leaned on edibles because edibles they're so much more discreet, right? You can just kind of pop it in your mouth and no one really has to know. And it's longer acting. So that way I can use the cannabis and get the effects I want, but have them last a really long time. Now, so leaning on edibles, right? My friend that works at a dispensary had come over a couple days before I left and brought me some samples. And I was like, yeah, give me the samples. So I grabbed, I saw a really cool box of 3-to-1, which means 3 times as much CBG, and I love CBG, to THC. And I was like, this sounds amazing. So of course I immediately tried it, and it is fantastic because CBG brings you the calm, the clarity, right? So the less stress, the less anxiety, but you get that little bit of buzz with the THC. So you kind of get like an extra kick of relaxation buzz, but really the CBG is keeping you calm and clear, and it's like lifts the fog. That combination just really does it for me. But as I knew that, as we went to the show, for example, I thought, the more giggly I am, the more fun the show is going to be, right? And typically the THC is what makes us giggly, right? So I've come up with this method that I'm calling layering. This may be a real method for all. I didn't look it up. I just like it and I'm telling you about it. So I take no credit, but I'm calling what I do layering. So what I started to do is I started to layer the edibles. So I took one, like maybe in the car on the way there, right? Edibles can take anywhere from 30 to 90 minutes to kick in, even longer. If you have a lot of food in your system, it can take a lot longer. So knowing that, I knew that I wanted to go ahead and get I always take CBG, so I wanted to make sure I had enough of that in my system to feel calm and clear as we approached the city and got into traffic. And I wanted that fog to lift, and I wanted to start to, be on vacation and have fun and kick back and be spontaneous and do fun things. So what I did was I started, again, on the way down in the car, I took an edible. Now, my trick with edibles is, if you don't know this, is to chew it a couple of times, just break up the edible in your mouth, and then hold on to it either in your cheek, against your gums, or under your tongue and hold on to it. Just sort of suck on it, let it sit there and dissolve a little bit for about, 30 seconds or so, a minute, and then swallow it so that it starts to absorb faster. And that's going to help it absorb faster so that, especially if you've just eaten something, it's going to take a while to go all the way through your digestive system. So you're going to need to have that, you want that to activate quicker. So then every 3 hours, I decided to try this interval. So every 3 hours, I popped another edible, right? Approximately. I mean, it was like approximately, let's say like 11, 2, 5, and 8, right? So what that was doing is it's allowing it to get into my system. You start to feel the effects. This effects sort of maximize at about between 2 and 3 hours. So that's when, so after 2 or 3 hours, they start to wane. So you start to lose the effects. And I wanted to keep the effects going because I wanted to have my calm, clear, have that fog stay off, stay lifted. But by increasing the amount of THC in my body, I'm also getting slightly buzzier each time. So I knew that if it worked on Saturday, I knew it was going to work on Sunday for the show. So I tried it on Saturday, and as evening approached, then as again in the evening when we're kicking back even more and going out to dinner, I was like, my friends are probably going to drink, so I can be a little bit buzzy too. And so I had layered at that point by 5 o'clock, which is when we ate because we're old and we like to eat dinner. No, just kidding. It was a whole circumstantial. The kids had just come from a thing, and so at 5 o'clock I had 30 milligrams of THC in my body, which before this, I would be taking probably 30 by itself, on a just as 30 milligrams by itself, THC. So, but I layered it so it was a little bit gentler. That's the best word I'm coming up with to describe it. When you feel THC come on, there is a little bit of a kind of your eyes open and you go, oh, yep, it's working, right? But as I layered it, and it wasn't 30 all at once, it was 10, and then it wore off a little, and then it was another 10, and then it wore off a little more, and then it was 10. It was a little bit gentler of coming into the presence of the THC. And the CBG on top of that, because now it was 3-1. So if it's 10 milligrams of THC, it was 30 milligrams of CBG. So 30 milligrams, now I layered that as well. So now I've got 30, 60, 90 milligrams of CBG. That's 90 milligrams of fog lifting, calm, clear, and a light buzz. I would just tell you, I felt so fantastic, right? I mean, I was perfectly clear, and I don't think anybody could have even noticed that I had that much in my system, THC-wise at least. 30 milligrams can be a lot for some people. I'm perfectly clear, giggly, but not stupid, very present, which is important to me, especially if I'm socializing. I don't want to, it's going to be different than how I feel when I'm just trying to watch a movie, and it's like about to fall asleep. That's a very different social setting, obviously, and I want to be present for my friends and my family. So I'm loving that the CBG and the layering of the THC kept me very clear and very obviously calm, chill, again, not bothered by anything. Like we had to wait for 20 minutes, not even bothered, my food was late, not even bothered. Like I was just like, well, okay, like I'm not mad, I don't feel bad, I'm just sort of here, I'm a little high, but I feel really good. So that's my method. So the layering, right? Again, I'm just really mindful of, and what I encourage all my clients to do and what I encourage you to do is be really mindful of and pay attention to your dosage. because you're unique, your dosages and your, process for cannabis is going to be unique, right? Just like your food is going to be unique, right? Now, to kind of come back to that too, that piece of it, because that's just as important. So I did the layering for my cannabis. For food, I took a balanced approach. We actually, my husband and I had talked a little bit ahead of time, which I always recommend. Any pre planning you can do just gives you an extra minute to think instead of having to make a snap decision. Because snap decisions are usually the worst ones because we tend to be hungry. And you're hungry, you're going to grab something that is comforting instead of something that may be smart. So we had already decided, again, I packed my breakfast, ate it in the car. We had already decided that we wanted to grab the best pizza in Brooklyn, right? We like Googled what's the best pizza in Brooklyn and it brought us to this certain place. So, okay, we have to drive right by it to get to the hotel. Perfect. So we ordered it on the way, we picked up pizza and we ate it on the way to the hotel. I guess so, yeah, on the way to the hotel. We ate it in the car. We were hungry. So I decided that that was going to be my main, I don't like the word cheat, but my big deal for the day, right? Because pizzas, I mean, it's New York pizza. It's greasy, it's doughy, it's cheesy. I mean, it's not, I'm not saying that there's anything bad with pizza, but I don't eat it on a super regular basis. I try to keep it to like once a month, right? So this is going to be my pizza day. And I'm not going to feel bad about it. I had 2 big pieces. They were delicious. I enjoyed every bite. And I was satisfied. If I had still been hungry, I would have had more, but I was satisfied. So then when we went out to dinner, now that we didn't pre-plan because we had been given choices and the choice I picked was closed for a private event. So we went to the other place. And I decided to go with a protein because the pizza had been just bread, cheese, and sauce. And again, just taking a balanced approach. I didn't really rule out any food in that it was bad or good. I immediately eliminated the pastas because I was like, I just had bread. I had a lot of bread. I had 2 giant pieces of pizza. That's plenty of bread. For one day. So I was like, let me look at the protein. So then it was, okay, we got chicken, we got steak, we've got fish. And then it was just a matter of choosing one of those that went with it. And that's usually my strategy is on vacation, I do one meal that is a little more out of the box, maybe something I wouldn't eat as much of on a normal basis, like pizza or a pasta dish or something I can't get at home. I like to do one meal that's a treat, if you will, quote unquote treat, and then I balance it at the other meals. So again, I had brought my breakfast, so that was just normal. I eat like yogurt and, bananas and stuff, oatmeal. And then my dinner was I had opted for a chicken. I usually try to look for some vegetables when I eat out as much as possible just to take advantage of any vegetable that's available because being on vacation is hard to get enough vegetables in. You're not at home. So I had gotten that. It was fantastic. We all got dessert. We all split desserts. So my friend and her family split a dessert, and my husband and I split a dessert. So I had a couple bites of an apple crumble, which was just enough. I was plenty full from my chicken. I was actually still full from the pizza. So I wasn't tempted to eat too much of the apple crumble pie. And then the next day, I did basically the opposite. The hotel had breakfast, which is great. I found wasn't obvious, so I hope other people realize this, but they had hard-boiled eggs, which was, I thought, a really nice, like, kind of easy option. Like, I mean, they can't mess it up. It's just a hard-boiled egg. They had yogurt and bananas and oatmeal, and they had good stuff. But I usually try to stick to, unless we're going to go out for breakfast, if it's just a hotel breakfast, I usually just try to get what I would normally eat. And then we didn't plan lunch, so we kind of had to wing it, which, again, I don't love, but we were on the subway riding back towards our hotel, And we were just Googling places to eat. Of course, there's a million because it's Brooklyn. And we found a fast casual place called Sweet Green, which is basically a salad and bowl place. So I was super excited because then I could get a big salad with tons of vegetables. And it was neat. It was like a harvest salad. It had sweet potatoes and it had some rice and it had, all the lettuce, tomato, cucumber, all of the things, right? It was a giant salad. It was fantastic, which was perfect because we had reservations to get Mediterranean food in the evening. And I knew we were going to do that. And I had already looked at that menu and I had already scouted out all the hummus and pita that I love. We love hummus and pita. We love all Mediterranean food, and I know we wanted to get just to experiment, So when we got to that, I was hungry because I had had a salad and that had already digested, and then I didn't feel any guilt about trying 3 or 4 different appetizers. They had small plates at this place, so we tried a bunch of different things, which I love to do because you get to experiment. I'm not worried about calories. It goes into my whole balance, right? One meal is the fun experiment treat, right? To some degree. And then the other meals are a little more on the typical healthy side, right? Which keeps me and my body happy because it's still getting what it's used to. And it's still getting some excitement as well. What I see happen to people on vacation all the time, which is what gets you in trouble, is going out to eat 3 meals a day and trying to have fun food and treat meals 3 meals a day. All you get is stuffed, right? And you end up feeling bad and you end up feeling stuffed and you end up feeling disgusting about yourself and you end up gaining weight. And the balanced approach works much, much better. So that was my experience with that. That was my experience with eating. I felt fantastic. Again, Monday, woke up, had a hotel breakfast, and then honestly, we were home by lunch, so I just had lunch and dinner at home. Like, it was just a normal day. So that was, I felt great. No change in my body. We walked around the city. I didn't feel bad missing a couple workouts because I had worked out the week before that. All is well. Cannabis, I layered it very well. I thought I felt fantastic the whole time. Loving the 3-to-1, so much so that now that I'm home and my new vape has come, so I have my own again, I have been using the 3-to-1 ratio when I make my capsules for my vape. So the vape has these little things that you put the flour in, you grind up the flour, put it in, and then you stick it in the little oven in the vape, and then you inhale the vapor. And so in the capsule, I've been mixing just a third of the capsule with THC flower and 2/3 of the capsule. I guess it's not 3-to-1, that's 2-to-3, but you know what I mean. So a third of the capsule has THC and then the other 2/3 of the capsule have CBG in it. And again, just feeling fantastic. Really loving this ratio, really loving the layering of edibles on vacation because didn't have to worry about the vape at all. I didn't smoke, I didn't inhale at all on vacation for 3 days. Didn't miss it, just felt great, just relaxed into it. And I thought it was just a really successful weekend health-wise. And we had a blast. Of course, goes without saying, we had a blast. But anyway, I hope that was enlightening for you, maybe a little bit helpful to hear how I handle vacation. If you have any questions, always feel free to reach out. I hang out the most on Instagram. I'm Beth_CannaFitnessNutrition. And my email is Beth@CannaFitnessNutrition.com. And you're welcome to contact me anytime. I love answering your questions. Thank you for sending them in, and I will see you next time.